Don't worry, I'll explain that. But before I do, there's something I want you to see. So, what did you notice? Reflection is all about like a book, all right? It's like reflecting over the y-axis like a book, okay? Over the y-axis, or reflecting like this over the x-axis, okay? That's what it's about, like a book, all right? So, if you wanted, say you have a graph, say you have f of x. If you wanted to reflect f of x, now think about it carefully, okay? If you want to reflect f of x over the x-axis like this, if you wanted to reflect it like this, what would have to happen? The positive, say, all right, this gap between my hands, I want you to think carefully right now. This gap between my hands is the x-axis, okay? If you want to reflect everything above the x-axis, it would have to become negative. And everything below the x-axis, it would have to become positive. Do you see it? So what am I saying? Everything above the x-axis must become negative, and everything below the x-axis must become positive. I need you to remember what f of x represents, okay? Say we have a function. Say we have a function called x squared. That's our parabola, okay? Now, do you remember that if you want to find the corresponding y value of an x value, what do? We take that x value, put it into the equation, and we see what we get. Let's try it. Let's say we want to find the corresponding y value for x equals 3. So we put in 3 in there, we square it. What's our answer? 3 squared is 9. What does this mean? It means that when x is 3, when x is 3, y is 9. Right. So do you agree with me that this f of x here represents our y value? Another way of writing f of x is just writing y. Y is equal to x squared. So that's our y value, and that's our x value. Okay, now that you understand that, stay with me, all right? So if we wanted to reflect this point, okay, currently this point is positive, all right? 3 is positive, 9 is positive, okay? If we want to reflect this point over the x-axis, what would have to happen? The 9 would have to be negative 9. Look here. So 3 somewhere over here, 9 somewhere over here. So this point is somewhere over there. So that's our point, 3, 9. If we want to reflect over the x-axis like a book, like this point would have to come vertically down somewhere here to become 3, 9. Do you see it? So based on this knowledge here that I just gave you, that means if we go back to the parabola, our parabola, if we have our parabola f of x equals to x squared, if you want to take this parabola and reflect it over the x-axis, then all you have to do is just put a negative in front. Because what does this mean? It means that if f of x is positive, now it will become negative. It's going to flip over the x-axis. But if f of x was negative, negative times negative, now it's positive. It's going to flip over and become positive. So do you see it? Here's another way to think about it, okay? We have our coordinates, all right? That's our coordinates, x and y. All we are doing, we are multiplying that y by a negative 1. Negative 1, we're multiplying by negative 1. That's all we're doing. Because what does this do? It flips like this, like a book. Remember, you need to remember that up here, y is positive, and down here, y is negative. So if a point is somewhere here, and we multiply by 1, it's going to come over here. If it's over here, and we multiply by 1, it's going to come down here. That's all we're doing. So now I've got a question for you, okay? What happens if the graph is in the positive and in the negative? For example, we have our x-axis in there, and we have something that looks like this. What happens there? This arm is in the positive, it's above the x-axis. This arm is in the negative, it's below the x. What happens then? So how do we reflect that? Let's check it out. Now just remember this. We are multiplying the y value in the coordinates by -1. That's what we're doing. So if it's negative, it's going to go up. If it's positive, it's going to go down. All right. Now what we just learned, that was reflecting over the x-axis. Now, how do we reflect over the y-axis? What does that look like? Now we're no longer reflecting over the x-axis, we're reflecting over the y. Okay, now what changes? Remember with the first one, the reflecting over the x-axis, the x values were locked. They were not changing at all. The y was becoming negative, or the negative y was becoming positive, but the y values of the coordinates were locked. Now it's the opposite. The y are locked and the x are changing. The positive becomes negative, or the negative becomes positive. Now, how do we write that? Okay. In the first one, we said, sorry for my handwriting, all right? We said we're going to play with the y. Now we're no longer going to play with the y. This time, we are going to play with the x. Remember what we said with this negative? We said if f of x is negative, multiply by negative, it's going to become positive. If it's positive, multiply by negative, it's going to become negative. Now we are saying if x is positive, multiply by negative, is going to become a positive. If x is negative, you get the point, all right? So what am I saying? Say we wanted to say x equals 5. Put it in there. Now it's going to be -5. But if x was -5, put it in there. Now x is going to be 5, positive 5. So numbers that were negative are suddenly becoming positive, and numbers that were positive are suddenly becoming negative because of that negative in the bracket. That's what's happening here. Okay, same principle. This is what it looks like.